Good morning, it's Monday the 3rd of June 2019. It's Mike Downs here and I'm going to share my normal edit procedure for Audacity. So on screen you see Audacity on Windows 10, and what I've done just on this screenshot is I put down at the bottom, and you can have this slide, of course it's going to be featured in this video, in the steps that I am working on, because in the last couple of months building the Nature Recorder I've used my Zoom H2N and my Moto G on Android out and about in the fields and the countryside, and what I've done is worked on something which I would still class myself as an Audacity novice editor, but I've started to work. So in a minute I will demonstrate, and hopefully not too long in the whole of this video, but I'm going to be thorough but try to be pacey as well. There are 16 different things that I'm going to think about and talk about. So what we'll do is we'll have this slide here to act as a roadmap, and then I will work why I do these things. And if we ever get stuck, and I get stuck, these are my cue notes. So for an example, just looking at the first 6, I set my PC volume to 30, I listen, I delete, I look, I normalize, I compress. Notice I do not do any noise reduction with this particular set. I reduce the volume, I look and listen. It's pretty obvious stuff, but if you're new to Audacity, which especially if you're coming up and you're, I was going to say, a younger viewer here, then someone's got to get started somewhere. So let's get started straight away, and I'll show you what I mean. So if we come up to Audacity, he says, looking for it, there it is. Now what I've been doing is just gone this morning to get a couple of nature sounds literally from the garden. You can clearly see it says garden there, and the one I'm going to start with, which is only 30 seconds long, is something that looks like this. So if I was going to literally take it out of the Zoom H2N, and at the moment it's a stereo recording that looks like that, and you can clearly see there's some pretty obvious things going extremely, I wouldn't say wrong, but I would say raw. That middle thing in the middle is actually where I cough intentionally. So to play it back, just listen. Oh, that is a really horrible sound there, isn't it? So it's pretty obvious that that has got to go away. So this is what I mean by working through, and I can demo a lot, but perhaps I don't need to demo all of them. The obvious thing is, number one, let's follow it down, PC volume to 30, and the reason I will say that is because this line down here where you can see with my mouse, the majority, before normalizing and compressing, the audio is going to be very, very low. I'm not actually going to hear anything. So at the moment I'm actually, yeah, look, I'm dead on 30, top left, Windows 10, Lenovo G50 or whatever it's called, laptop. So listen, delete, start and end, and look. So let's deal with the first 3. So we go back, and again, and we just play a bit of it. And I'm just going to play it from there because I know that was horrible to our ears. So let's just play. You can see most of the audio is about -33, -30 decibels, and this is the cough coming up in 3, 2, 1. Intentional cough. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm just going to literally press, so I've selected with the mouse, press delete. Next thing, cough. Now at the moment I don't know exactly where the cough stops and starts, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in so I can just see roughly what's going on. So let's play the cough again. Cough, cough. So and I'm trying to pick an area here which is, it looks like it's quite low. So let's say it's about there, and I'm going to hit delete. Then I go back to view all, and you can see that looking for these super high spikes, I would say to the end. So I'm just going to select that area there just as an idea, and I'm going to, again, this is the way that I do it. There are quite a lot of zoomy type tools up there, and of course to be efficient one needs to, I say one, I mean me, anybody, could be you, is going along to do something that works for you and that you can trust. It might but not be the manual textbook way of doing it or the fastest way to do it, but if it works for you, stick with it. Right, so let's just play it. Yeah, just annoying at the end. So I know that's where it is. I'm not sure that if I actually select and delete there it's exactly right for me, so I'm going to come out and I'm going to say, yeah, that's what it looks like. Play it from about here, because see that bit there, I can intentionally physically see some lower audio though. Sorry, there rather. So Yeah, so let's take it from about there and then hit delete. Then to view all, I've now got a 30-second or so audio that kind of looks okay without any really bad spikes. So to check back, I go down and I say, right, I've listened, delete, start and ends. I've done that. I've looked and listened and deleted some spikes, which in this case was a cough. I need to normalize and compress number 4. Then I go through, back to Audacity, and this time, and this is Audacity updated just this morning. I think it's something like, it's pretty important actually. I need to say about 2.3.2, and what they've added here, a couple of with the other fiddly bits, is a select button, where normally you just click anywhere on the track and it selects. But if I reduce this right up, you can see that the select button is still visible, which is really, really useful actually. Well done, Audacity team. So select that, and I'm just going to bring that track down. I've got everything there. I'm going to do Effect, Normalize, factory settings if you like, boom, look at our audio now, and then Effect, Compressor, and the most popular video on my YouTube channel is about how to clean, but the one that I would normally do sometimes is noise reduction. As it's birdsong and natural sounds, I'm not doing that. So now if I play this back, let's just play a couple of seconds. For me, in my head, it's really, really loud, and so what I need to do first of all is I reduce my PC volume to play back in my headphones at about, say, 14. It just reduces it down, and now I'm looking. It sounds really noisy actually. Let me just go back to the beginning and play a couple of seconds. And at this moment I'm actually looking at the decibels. Now, according to this, compress and normalize, I shouldn't be really bad, but I'm pretty high there. So let's just have a look back and just play a couple of seconds. What's that one doing there? Now at this moment I could actually hit File and save it, sorted, but we can do a little bit more to that, and especially where we are now. One of the things that I will talk about is reverb, and I've used reverb an awful lot recently just because I've got a stereo microphone with 5 capsules in it, and it just lifts up the sound, especially with outdoors. So let me just preview the reverb for you at 100%. Now you could argue, and I will argue this, that there's no difference. Maybe sometimes it just brings that incredible sound, sometimes it doesn't. But the thing is, we've got natural garden sound. So let's go back on our list again, and right, we're down to normalize, PC done that, look and listen for the spikes, add a label track if needed. So if we go down to Audacity again, this time it doesn't look like there's anything really suspectingly bad. Sometimes you get, like, see that bit just there? There's a little spike there, but it's not terrible, I don't think. One of the tips I can give you right now, let me just play that bit there. So there's nothing terrible in there that's like... It's very difficult, this garden sound, because this is almost like a metropolitan urban area, so you get an awful lot of like road and traffic creeping in, recorded like on on a Monday morning. So the thing that I love doing, and it is a love really, is Amplify, and it will tell you that there is no ups and downs in this, because in theory it is at the right sound levels, because it's a very short clip of 30 seconds, and therefore there hasn't been any. Sometimes in birdsong there's a load of birds singing and obviously they stop and you more or less got no sound going on, so there's lots of ups and lots of downs. So let's cancel that, and then one of the things that I could add, and I'll just do it. Thing is, I'm talking out loud and teaching obviously to you, but I'm also thinking about how I would actually do it, and that's why I've made this list, to get off track, because I do know that we're 9 minutes in already. So add a label track if needed. Let's just demonstrate this, how I may sometimes do it. So if I wanted to do it, I would go up and I would go tracks, add new, a label track, and then what happens is that if I wanted to find a particular piece in the audio, let's listen. you know, I don't know what that was, but let's say that was a crow. I can click and now I can say crow. And it just gives me all it is a physical label that I can read. Listen. See, that's just a tiny thing there with a plane up there as well. That's how to do the label. I can move it up and down, but I'm going to leave it there. So let's keep going. So amplify check, I've done that already. Generate a silence, fade it, fades, reverbs, crossfade the tracks. Oh, that's an interesting one. Next thing, we're going to have a look at the generate the silence, because this is quite an interesting one. And that is that going back to Audacity and then going back to, I'm going to cheat a little bit here. I'm going to bring that in. And then what I'm going to do, this is the same track of course before, and then this time I'm going to just, not that one, let's get rid of the label track. I'm going to mute that. So what you'll notice now is the cough's back. And this time, instead of deleting, all I'm going to do is generate some silence. This is just an example, sometimes it works. In this exact example, you know, for real life, I probably wouldn't do it, but you could silence it. Okay, so now what actually happens is, listen back. It just literally silences the track. What I could actually do, and these are just little skills that you might want to work out. I'm not saying that they're great skills from me, but they may work. If I zoom in to here, and this is really sort of a teachery, you know, chatting sort of philosophy of Audacity on a workflow, if you like. This time, I want to bring in, to know that this has gone really high, but I don't want to silence it. It could be a technique of bringing it down to an amplification. And this time I'm going to say, well, okay, if that's true, what happens if I bring this back to about minus, say, 42 and click OK? What actually happens is, okay, perhaps not that much. If you're with me on it, what it actually means that I'm actually trying to go down, let's just do minus 11. And you can see that the cough is still there, but it's not as high this time. Listen. It's just like a background cough. That's just one technique. Come off of that, and what we're going to do next is move it along. And reverb, I've talked about. Crossfade tracks, I haven't yet. Right, let's do that one next. I think I should timestamp these later. So this time what I'm going to do is unmute that. I'm going to crossfade tracks. Let's say that this track, which it physically is, and I'm going to go to the end, and this is this bit at the bottom. And video editing is a huge timer up top left. Here there isn't in Audacity, so it's 32.695. If I was going to put the click anywhere it was, then it will say the audio is now at 27 of whatever. If I was going to select something, then you'll notice that I've selected 3.456 seconds. What I'm trying to get to is, if I select it, keyboard control copy, click anywhere, control V, I've now actually got a duplicate track. And so what that means is, if I use the, and let's go back here to tools on the right hand side, my main tools are mouse, which you can clearly see in the timeline. I'm using the keyboard spacebar to play. I'm physically looking at the recording levels all the time. Zoom timeline I've kind of like covered with you. Time shift tool, I'm about to do an audio position. So if I'm thorough, I should be covering all of these fiddly bits all the time. So in other words, now I want to go over to the normal edit, and appreciate some bits I'm talking for a long time, other bits I'm going through quite quickly, so please rewind or slow down this video. Time shift tool, and this time I'm going to time shift it, and all I'm doing is dragging right the way up. Now at the moment I don't know, I'm going to crossfade these tracks and make it double in length. So now if I click to normal edit tool and view everything, I've now got something that's over a minute. So let's say I wanted to make this exactly it's not important, is it? Sorry, thinking aloud, this is me, Mike Downs, doing it. So if I go there and select those two, I've now got 1.4, that's not a lot. Bring that to 2, yeah, here we go, that'll do. So this time, what I'm doing in real life is, I've got two of the same tracks I want to duplicate, but I've got a 2.683 crossfade, which I want to put in. How do I get to that? I go down to Effects and I go down to, keep clicking, Crossfade Tracks this time, because I've got more than one track. I'm going to keep that, and if you're not sure, Manage Factory Presets Defaults, which it is anyway, and I'm going to click OK. Now what happens is that you can see that one has gone out and the other one is in. How cool is that? And easy, play it back. More or less listening back, it's seamless, it should be. And if I undo it, this time, this is before the crossfade, so it's gonna... Oh, I'm grimacing because that's nasty. So that's how to crossfade the tracks, and then I'm going to repeat that crossfade tracks, which was, where was it? Yep, okay, which is there. And then we're going to look at what's left. What's left is crossfade tracks, mixer board. How nice. Let's do the mixer board next and try and finish up for 20 minutes. So let's do the mixer board next. So he comes up, and now that, because I've got at least 2 tracks, I can go view the mixer board. Now if you imagine a bucket with, I don't know, a 1 kilogram weight in it, of course if you put a second 1 kilogram weight in that bucket, you've now doubled your weight. Audio is the same thing. The more tracks you've got, the more heavy it can get. So for an example, I know that we've got tracks end to end and they're cross-faded, and that's why I can bring out the mixer board, which some people may argue is totally not needed because I've only got 1 track. So let's go back a second and let's go, and for the sake of this, let's bring that in there so it's a bit nasty. When I say nasty is watch what happens if I play back. Watch up here on the playback decibel level. Here, watch this. And I'm kind of like, you know, -3, -6, which I should be. I'm quite high. But the moment the second track kicks in, let's just watch. I'm pushing right into those reds. So if I did this and said, and I'm just going to cheat here a little bit for the sake of this, I'm selecting and hitting delete. So there's a real hard edge there, watch. Boom. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up that mixer board, and I could do it by these little slides here, but I like the mixer board because it makes me feel better about life, maybe. Then I can come down. My second track, I'm going to bring that right the way down, so it's almost like a background. There you go, let's try that, and let's see what happens when it hits this. See, it's so much softer, which is obviously, you know, stating the obvious, because I brought the level, the gain level, right the way down on the second. It's just a thing that I was referring to. And then one of the last things is going to be, let's do a little bit of left and right because I've got a minute left. This is really an extra that I could actually go into another video about. I'm going to take that away and I'm going to bring in, which is the most wonderful thing ever, obviously it isn't, is the garden that I went down to, because I went to the same piece of garden but the birdsong had totally changed. So what I'm going to do here, just for speed, is I'm going to mute that and minimize it. I've got a brand new one here and doing it super fast. I'm going to say don't care about that because it's pretty obviously the start, pretty obviously the end. Select all, effect, and this gets very automatic after a while. Again, if you're watching this and you think you've done it wrong, Mike, then let me know if there's an easier way. Normalize, yes please, and then effect compress, yes please, okay, and then just play back the sort of thing that we're getting. How lovely is that? So then what I want to do is go down and realise that it's the same garden but with different sound, and this time I'm going to unmute that, and what I'm going to attempt to do is bring that all the way to the left and this all the way to right. Sometimes this doesn't work because these are stereo tracks, so therefore Audacity is overriding the left and right. It doesn't really matter. Let's just play a bit to see what happens. When I say doesn't matter, it does matter a lot, and I could do another half hour on this, but let me just play. Nice. And when I say nice, is that you're starting to get this little flecking and flicking in your left and right ears because of accentuated stereo over multi-layering. Maybe multi-layering is something that I should really look at another time in another video. But hey, life happens and you get on with things like the Nature Recorder, which obviously I'm passionate about. If you look at the view levels, they are super low, but that's a new project for you. Then I could come along here and just select all, and then I could effect a fade in like that, and then I could play that back. And I'm naturally listening and listening and listening to this because that's what you do in Audacity, or with anything if you're paying attention, I guess. I'm losing my thread here, and the reason is because I actually want to get involved and really edit these audios as opposed to make the video. So we've been here for 21 minutes. If you are as well, fantastic, thanks for staying. I'll get this published, look, and what we've done is pretty much, I think, covered a lot of these things. If we just check back, we've done 1 to 6 easily, amplifies, reverb. I could actually try another reverb on that. Listen, 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 listen. Keep listening, especially to the start and the end, because when you're in a rush, you tend to don't do it, and then afterwards you realise that there's some shoddy, sloppy, horrible mistake, usually right at the start somewhere, and then export it as a WAV, which I think I would be very unuseful if I didn't do this. So if I wanted to do the whole mix here, I could just export the whole lot as a WAV, and that's how I would export it out and then import it into a video editor. Or you could actually do a track mix, and you can mix and render it right here, right now, or you could actually mix and render it to a new track. If I did mix and render there, then what happens is you can see it's just changed, but I can't kind of like get it back. Hold on a second, yes you can, because you can go back into the view history and you can actually see that everything that we've done here is actually recorded, and you can delete these parts out. Amazing. Okay, look, let's finish there. Thank you very much. What's this, 22, nearly 23 minutes? But if you're into Audacity, it's a wonderful, wonderful way to create things. What a super, super program. Thank you very much, and see you next time.